3 years ago tonight, I sat in the third row at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas, hosted by a wrestling company. This was a show hosted by a wrestling company that had never put on a single show before in its existence. It had only been in existence for a few months. 10 days before that, they announced the deal with Warner Media for a television show that would be debuting later that year. It was going to be the first pro wrestling show on TNT in almost 20 years. We have not seen wrestling on TNT since the death of WCW. There were some bad days there towards the end of WCW. It died a very slow, horrible death. But that was a very big deal, hearing that news. They got that deal without running a single show. They were a startup. They were an unproven product. They had nothing to base anything off of other than we have a roster. We have a blueprint for where we want to go and what kind of product we want to be. And the executives at Turner, the executives at Warner Media said, okay, we're going to give you guys a chance. And they got the kind of television deal that other companies would kill for. You know how many wrestling companies try to get good television, decent television, and they have a better time of running for office and becoming president than they would getting a good television slot for their wrestling show. Jeff Jarrett tried for years to try to get Global Force, Ring of Honor, Impact, all these different organizations from over the years. And AEW was handed a huge opportunity that very few others have been handed. Warner Media was so impressed by what they saw in the early days of AEW just in the first few months that they went and they worked out a brand new agreement with them only a few months into the existing agreement that they had, where they would cover the costs of the production, but otherwise AEW, this was almost just like an infomercial in a way for them. They were not getting paid any money. They were being given a time slot. They were having their production costs covered, and they were just going to go out there and try to build an audience. It was only a few months in that they signed AEW to a brand new agreement. And that agreement ended up saving the company in many ways because this was in January of 2020. We all know what happened 2 months after that. The world shut down. AEW wasn't even running shows in front of live audiences anymore. They weren't able to make money off ticket sales because there were no tickets to sell. They were running from an empty building just like WWE was. That was only 2 months after they signed that agreement that was going to pay them almost $175 million over 4 years. You talk about lucky timing. That deal doesn't get done when it is. In January of 2020, when it goes down, if it doesn't happen then, very likely I'm not sitting here tonight with you talking about this show. It's very likely there is no AEW. Certainly not with the kind of roster they have right now. The timing was very advantageous to AEW. They're very fortunate that deal was made when it was. I had a blast that night in Vegas. I was watching Cody and Dustin deliver a bloodbath. Cody and Dustin went out there and delivered the kind of match they wanted to have with each other in WWE. They wanted to have a WrestleMania match like that, maybe without as much blood. But that was what they were hoping to do in WWE, and they never had the chance. They had Stardust against Goldust on a B pay-per-view, and it died a death, and nobody cared. They went out there in Vegas that night, and they had one of the best matches all year. Dustin has said he has no desire to ever step in the ring with his brother ever again. He is very proud of that match, and he's very proud to let it stand alone. I agree. I think it would be impossible for them to top. To be in the building that night and to watch that match and to witness that was very special. Watching the Young Bucks against the Lucha Brothers was an early glimpse into the tag team division in AEW, which would become the greatest tag team division for any promotion anywhere in the United States. And I would still argue that right now, to this day. When you compare it to WWE or any other company, AEW still has the strongest tag team division in wrestling. And we got a glimpse of it that night with the Bucks and the Lucha Bros. I watched Jon Moxley come through the crowd less than a month after he worked his final match in WWE. He went the opposite way of Sasha Banks and Naomi. He wanted out. He kept his head down, kept his mouth shut, waited for his contract to end, and he said, Adios. I'm out of here. And he walked on into AEW, and I don't even know, honestly, watching it back on TV, that it really does the reaction justice. Being in the building that night, people were shocked, people were excited, and it really did. It felt like a big deal that we had this guy who was a major star in WWE walk off their television right on into this company at their very first event. It was the perfect way to cap off what was a very memorable night, very memorable first night for All Elite Wrestling. Some of the names I knew, some of the names early on I didn't know. Obviously, they signed a lot of independent talent, and I wasn't familiar with everybody on the card that night, but it was a nice mix of big names and lesser-known names. But the whole thing, it just had a different vibe to it. It was different than any Ring of Honor show I had been to. It was different than any Impact Wrestling show I had been to, and I had been to a lot. Even a lot of the WWE shows at that time. As big as the WWE product was, it was very stale. It was very formulaic. There was a different vibe in the building that night in Vegas than any of those other products. And you felt like this could be something special. This could be something fun. Here we are now 3 years later. And after 2 straight years outside of Vegas, running these shows in front of basically no fans, right? So we went from that to 2021, well, 2020 and then 2021 at Daly's Place in Jacksonville. Not the same as being able to run from Vegas in front of a packed crowd. We come out of that, and AEW was going to be back in Sin City this Sunday, but they were already there tonight. They invaded Las Vegas all week. They're going to be in Vegas for Rampage on Friday as well. But AEW was back for the first time in 3 years in Sin City tonight for Dynamite, the final Dynamite before Double or Nothing. And as I watched the AEW product, it's very clear, look, AEW is not perfect. Some of the cracks are showing as the roster expands, and there is frustration building behind the scenes. There's more and more reports of that coming out. You know, it's not perfect. They have their issues and they have their flaws just like any other organization does. But wrestling is in a far better place with a second major national promotion than it would be without it. That much I can tell you. That much is for sure. AEW has achieved a lot in these 3 years, a lot more than others before them who have tried to compete. If they have made it this far in 3 years, just ask yourself this question. What can they do in the next 3? We'll have to wait and see. This is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. I am the Solomonster. A pretty good episode, I thought, of Dynamite tonight. The go-home episode of Dynamite, second to last show before Double or Nothing this Sunday. Setting the table for what looks like a really stacked card on paper. You know, I made the comment about a week and a half ago. Looking at the official matches that had been announced, they only had about 5, maybe 6. And it was a little strange they didn't have more already announced. Then I figure, oh, well, we'll find out, obviously, tonight what the total card looks like. And when you look at it on paper, and they ran down the entire card tonight on TV, it's a pretty strong card. And I think it's going to be an excellent show on Sunday. We had Samoa Joe advancing in the Owen Hart tournament. He is going to Double or Nothing on Sunday to meet Adam Cole. One of those two men will win the Owen. Whether it's a championship belt or a trophy, I've heard both. I've heard there might be a belt and a trophy for the men's winner, and the women's winner. I know championship belts have been made. We'll see what they look like. Supposedly the men's is in black, the women's is in pink. So I'm very curious to see what those look like. Britt Baker going to the finals on the women's side. How about that? Adam Cole and Britt Baker going to the final. Already I see people on social media freaking out. Oh my God, they're going to give it to Britt Baker and Adam Cole. They're going to give it to the two of them. Not so fast. I don't think so. Not so fast. Wardlow, the best built story in AEW going into this pay-per-view on Sunday. It's not CM Punk and Hangman Page. It's not the Young Bucks and the Hardys. Oh no. It's Wardlow and MJF. They have consistently been in the best segments on this show each week. Tonight was no exception. This story has been built perfectly People want to see Wardlow murder this man. He beat Shawn Spears in the cage tonight. He will get his match with MJF on Sunday at Double or Nothing. And if once he gets his hands on him, the building will come unglued. Because Wardlow, and this whole Wardlow story, is a textbook example of how you build a monster babyface. For all the flaws and things that AEW might get wrong, they have gotten this story very right. They have gotten the Wardlow push very right. And they're being rewarded for it because every place they go, every city they go to, Wardlow gets a monster pop. He gets a monster reaction. The people are behind him. They're not sick of seeing him. They want to see him destroy MJF. And it's been a lot of fun to watch. So that match was made official tonight as well. We're going to get into everything that happened here on the show. So stick around for a while. Hit that like button. Super chats are open. If you would like to send one on in, we will be reading all of your messages. If you have predictions, if you have questions about the event coming up on Sunday, I'd love to hear from you guys. I see a lot of our channel members here in the chat. I see Morphiend, I see Khan, I see Tuxedo T Servo and Temjin, and my God, Sleep Monster, they're all here. Look at this. Voices all around me was gifted a membership by Griga. That's right, YouTube has rolled out membership gifting. You can gift a membership to people. That's a brand new feature they've just rolled out, so thank you to him. But again, send those super chats on in. We'll hang out later on and check all that out. Speaking of the channel member stuff here, you can become a channel member. The join button is down below. If you click it, it'll give you all the information on the 2 tiers that exist, how much they are, what you get. So definitely give that a view. You get access to some exclusive bonus content. I did want to shout out some of our channel members, including Giovanni Zarate. Shout out to Giovanni, Cindy Ennett, and Bogus Fan, who all renewed their membership this past week, over the last few days. In fact, Bogus Fan has got that Legends tier membership. Bogus Fan has been a channel member now for 10 months. And my boy Indigo. Indigo, where is he at? I know I'm sure he's here live. Indigo, 14 months as a channel member here on YouTube. So thank you to Indigo and everybody else. Before we get into the show, there is a little bit of news. Tony Khan did an interview on the Sports Media Podcast with Richard Deitch. He's a media reporter. He was on that show and he talked about this very important show they have coming up next week. So I know some of you who might be based out on the West Coast. Yes, Jared, I just spotted you, Jared. I don't want Jared to feel left out in the chat. So shout out. There's Naked Solomonster on my screen. But thank you, Jared. Next week is a big week for Dynamite because they are going to be making their California debut. Next week, Dynamite is live from the Forum in Inglewood. And Tony Khan on this podcast was talking about what a big deal it is because he said not only will representatives be in attendance from Warner Brothers Discovery, we've been talking a lot about this media merger. What does it mean for the future of AEW? They've been getting rid of a lot of executives that were in favor of AEW, that have been friendly with Tony Khan and supportive of AEW. A lot of these people now are gone. What does that mean for the future of AEW? People were making a big deal about the fact that, AEW wasn't all over the media upfronts last week. What does that mean? Is that a bad sign? I think people are making a lot out of nothing. But Tony Khan was talking about next week at the Forum, there will be representatives from Warner Brothers Discovery attending the show. Not only that, they're throwing a party for AEW when the show is over at the Forum. This is what he had to say. They're throwing a mixer, is what they're doing. He says, it means a lot to me personally to be in the Forum to begin with, but I can't tell you what it means that a lot of the top executives from Warner Brothers Discovery are not only coming to the show, but they're throwing a great event for us afterwards. Just to have their presence to begin with means so much that they would come to the show, but also a lot of the top executives are going to have an event with us, with a lot of people in AEW, and we're going to hang out. That means the world to us and getting to know each other better. So I could just picture all the executives hanging out with Luchasaurus in his dino gear, downing shots of honey whiskey in the back. Hopefully nobody makes an ass out of themselves. In one night, they can get the whole company shut down. They can get the whole company thrown off the network. All it takes is one person to act like Bully the Clown with his clown makeup, and that's the end of AEW. Do Not Pass Go wants to know, will there be cake? I read that as Coke. I thought you said Coke. If this was 30 years ago, the answer would be yes. Maybe there'll be cake and Coke. Who knows? But I'm sure it's going to be a fun party next week. So they opened the show tonight. I thought this would be the main event. They opened the show with the steel cage match between Wardlow and Shawn Spears with MJF as the special referee. Wardlow has to win this match in order to go on to Double or Nothing and get his match with MJF. That was the stipulation coming into this. MJF was patting down Wardlow before the match, and he feigned not being able to find the keys to unlock his handcuffs because, as usual, Wardlow came to the ring, no theme music, hands cuffed in front of him, and MJF pretended like he didn't know where the keys were. All of a sudden, Shawn Spears attacks him anyway, and Wardlow is also attacked by MJF. So this has basically turned into a handicap match here before it even began. Wardlow remained cuffed. He tried to defend himself. MJF and Spears, they double body checked him into the side of the cage. Wardlow came back with a back body drop and a big boot to Spears. He stared down MJF, but he couldn't put his hands on him. Because as per the rules, if he put his hands on MJF, he would lose any chance of getting a match with him on Sunday. So he could not physically touch him. MJF spat in his face. This infuriated Wardlow so much, he broke free from the handcuffs. And MJF's, his eyes were just bugging out of his head. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Fans chanted, "You fucked up," at MJF. Wardlow went for the swanton bomb off the top. He barely grazed Shawn Spears. I'll tell you what, for a guy as big as him, he's a big guy. He gets some distance. That's the second time I've seen him pull off that move. The problem is he almost gets too much distance. I think maybe he's trying to clear too much because he doesn't want to land on his opponent like Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy doesn't care anymore. Jeff Hardy is 40-some-odd years old with a broken down body. He'll land on you full force. Wardlow's a much bigger guy than Jeff Hardy. He doesn't want to land on the guy full force. But he's barely grazing them on the way down. MJF, though, refused to count the pin. Wardlow got Spears up for a power bomb, but MJF kicked him low from behind. Wardlow dropped him. Spears got Wardlow up for the C4. MJF tried to fast count him, but Wardlow still kicked out. Not sure why MJF couldn't have just counted anyway. Think about it. He could have just counted the 3. What's going to happen? Is the general manager going to come out and is Adam Pearce going to walk out and say, "Oh, sorry, wrong show," and tell MJF that he couldn't do it? But Wardlow kicked out so quickly, MJF, I guess, he couldn't count the 3 without making it too obvious. Spears then left the cage. And all the WWE fans are wondering, well, how come the match isn't over? Because in this match, the rules were pin or submission only. This was not escape the cage rules. So he left the cage. There was a steel chair, actually 2 of them, propped up against the cage. He grabbed one of them, brought it back inside with him. He brought the chair in, and when he reared back with it, MJF had Wardlow's arms hooked. When he reared back with the chair, Wardlow ducked, and Spears killed MJF with a chair shot to the head. And the way that this chair crumpled, I don't know if you noticed it, the way it bent, the way it crumpled, I'm almost positive it was a gimmick chair. It would almost have to be, probably given what happened when Shawn Spears first showed up in AEW, that chair shot he gave, that sickening chair shot to Cody Rhodes. I think they learned their lesson when it comes to him swinging a chair. So I'm almost positive that they gimmicked the chair. At least I hope they did. So MJF was out. He sold it like death. His eyes were open, but nobody was home. He was looking up at the lights. Wardlow delivered 3 power bombs to Shawn Spears. Here comes Bryce Remsburg. He runs down to get into the cage to take over as the new referee. Wardlow gave Spears 1 final power bomb onto the steel chair. That was the 4th of this match. And Remsburg counted the 3. And so it is official. Wardlow will get his match. Surprise, surprise. Every fucking person knew what was going to happen here. But he gets his match now with MJF on Sunday. The outcome was never in doubt, of course. The only question was, how would they get there? Once they announced that MJF was going to be the referee, it was like, all right, well, how are they going to get out of this? And you knew it had to be some kind of a miscommunication between MJF and Spears that would have led to the fall, and that's exactly what they did. Wardlow went to powerbomb MJF when it was over, but this army of security geeks filed on into the ring. He fought them off one by one, punched one, clotheslined the other. Finally, he grabs one of the geeks, and he sets him up for a powerbomb. And Wardlow powerbombs this guy right into the side panel of the cage. And this fucking guy, he just slid straight down in between the gap that appeared suddenly between the cage and the ring. So when he powerbombed him into the side of the cage, it pushed the cage enough that the guy just slid down and fell in between. And I fucking laughed. It's like he fell into the void. He fell somewhere into the back rooms. If you're not aware of what that is, that's the new thing I've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole in recent days. Somebody mentioned this thing called the back rooms to me. I had no idea what it is. If you're into found footage, horror, they're short videos, fan made, but they're amazing. I've been watching as many of them as I could possibly get my hands on this week. I think this guy fell into the back room somewhere. This was exactly what it needed to be. Not a lot of wrestling, but I mean, look, it's Wardlow against Shawn Spears. This should not have gone long. This should not have been a 15-minute long match. This was an angle, more than anything, to set up the match that people actually want to see on Sunday. And people ate it up, just like they have pretty much every other segment involving these two, or these three. Credit to Spears, too. He's been part of this also. And Wardlow should not have been struggling very much with Shawn Spears to begin with. But I will say, I think I'll be a little bit sad after the pay-per-view when Wardlow gets his music back. I have grown to really like. I think he's more badass coming out without the theme music with the cuffs in front of him like that. I almost wish he would keep it for a little while longer. Yeah, they could play his music when he wins a big match, but like no music, handcuffed, crowd cheering as he walks down to the ring. It works for him. It works to him. It is very much like the whole Kane thing back in 2003 when he would come out in the chains with the towel covering his head. It just works. It makes him look more intimidating. So there was a brief segment in the back with the Jericho Appreciation Society. They walked up to some random stagehand who did nothing wrong. He was minding his own business. Jericho threw a fireball, and he was wearing a Moxley shirt. I think that's what it was. And Jericho threw a fireball in his face and said, "I'm a wizard," and walked off. Okay. You know what they should do? They should shoot some kind of a skit where it's just Jericho in everyday life. He's going to get his latte from Starbucks, and the barista doesn't serve him fast enough, and so he chucks a fireball in the guy's face and says, "I'm a wizard." And he grabs his coffee and storms off. He's in Home Depot. He's looking for some hardware. The guy's trying to help him. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We're out of that." "Ooh, fireball. I'm a wizard." He walks off. Goes out to take the garbage out, the pails in front of the house and everything. His neighbor comes over. "Hey, Chris, your car's blocking my driveway." Boom, fireball to the face. Or to the crotch. "I'm a wizard." At least that would be kind of funny. We have this Sunday. Hangman Page is going to defend the AEW World title against CM Punk. But tonight, they went face-to-face one final time, the last bit of hype to promote their championship match on Sunday. Toni Schiavone was in the ring for this face-to-face. He allowed CM Punk, he gave him the mic first to speak. Punk pointed out that the most important moment of his career, which is true, took place in Las Vegas. It took place where they were tonight. That was the night that he sat down on Raw, on the stage, cross-legged, and he cut that pipe bomb promo that really led to the biggest main event push of his entire wrestling career. And remember, this is a guy who already legitimately had one foot out the door. He was gone. He was gone. He felt he wasn't getting the opportunities that he should have been getting. Clearly, he had jealousy when it came to John Cena and The Rock getting the WrestleMania main event. And he just took all those feelings and said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just let people know how I really feel. And we'll work it into a story. Because they were going to put him in the ring with John Cena on his way out. And what do you know? He ended up getting over bigger than anybody in the entire business that summer. He was the hottest thing in wrestling. And you could trace it all back to that pipe bomb promo. I think it was at the Thomas and Mack Center in Vegas. It was 11 years ago next month. So he thanked the fans for all of their support. Hangman then took the mic. It was then the champion's chance to respond. And he said that there's nothing Punk can do to him to take that championship away from him. He was very angry. I'll say that much. Hangman was very angry throughout this entire promo. Punk wasn't sure why he was so angry. He even said to him, I don't know why you're so angry. I don't know why you're taking this personally. It's just business. Page said that 3 weeks ago, he said that Punk was going to get annihilated. He was going to embarrass him. And he didn't mean to do it at Double or Nothing. He meant to do it right now. He said he's been waiting for this moment for months. He imagined himself up on that ramp like Punk, cross-legged one day, and he would light up his own pipe bomb and roll it on down the ramp and watch it blow up in his face. But now that we're here, he realized that I can't do it. Not because I'm afraid that I'll get fired when I walk back through the curtain. Tony Khan's going to fire me. He said, but the more he thought about it, it's exactly what Punk would do. I guess he's not going to stoop to his level. He said he doesn't hate Punk. He doesn't hate Punk. He almost pities him. He says he has no respect for him or what he has done since he's come to AEW. He said this Sunday he will not be defending his championship against Punk. He will be defending All Elite Wrestling from Punk. That was the key line of his promo. That was his mission statement going into this match on Sunday. We finally got it. A few days before the pay-per-view. We got his actual mission statement going into this main event on Sunday. Punk again said, look, I'm not sure why you're so angry. You're taking things so personally, but if you're so upset that I'm here, he goes, you're going to have to do something about it on Sunday. Win, lose, or draw, I respect you, Hangman. But remember, those roads you traveled to get here, they were paved by me. He said, the house that you built, it was constructed with lumber from trees that I chopped down. So let it be known, CM Punk, even though he is the straight-edge superstar, he is also no fan of the environment. He says he said the world that you traveled to create AEW happened because I gave you the blueprint. He said, you will shake my hand on Sunday. He goes, in fact, you're going to shake my hand right now. And he put his hand out. Hangman wouldn't shake his hand. Punk shoved him. And Hangman took him down with a right hand, knocked him on his ass, and Punk was holding his jaw as he looked up at Hangman, and that was the promo. I have to say, having listened to this, I agree with CM Punk. I have no idea why Hangman Page would be this angry. I felt the same way watching this. I'm trying to think of the story, and I'm thinking, why is this guy? All of a sudden, over the last few weeks, why is he so angry? What did CM Punk ever say or do to Hangman Page or anybody else in AEW? It's not like he's been acting like a jerk or a dick. I mean, he used to have that reputation, right? He's been a model citizen with all the people he's interacted with on TV since coming to AEW. And he's feuded with, MJF and stuff, but he's tagged with Darby and Sting, and he's always talking about how happy he is to be here. But all of a sudden, Hangman Page, he's been so angry in his promo work over the last few weeks, none more so than tonight. The crux of it is that Hangman sees this as his responsibility to protect AEW from CM Punk's, I guess, massive ego. That's the story going into this match. I liked the contrast between Page taking this match deathly serious and CM Punk not playing it off as a joke, but just, to him, it just feels like it's another match. The way he carries himself in these segments, it's like, dude, I don't know why you're so upset. Meanwhile, to Hangman, you would think this is the biggest match of his career. You know, if he doesn't win this match, his family has been kidnapped, you know, by the people who kidnap everybody from the NXT parking lot. Joe Gacy and his druids have kidnapped Hangman's family. And if he doesn't win the match on Sunday, he'll never see his family again. That's what you would think, based on how he was acting here in this segment. So it's an interesting contrast to how Punk, I think, was acting and how he was carrying himself here in the same segment. I liked his fire, but I don't think he's done a great job of, or they have not had the character do a very good job of articulating exactly what it is that has made him so upset. What is it about Punk's ego or something that Punk has done, or even his reputation coming into this match that would have him think, oh, you know, he's pulling the wool over everybody's eyes? I just don't think they've done a good enough job of really verbalizing why he would be this upset. Can't really point to any one event that would really signal why he would be that upset. I also, you know, think he was repeating himself a few times here in this segment, maybe where he forgot what he was going to say, maybe. So that was a little rough. But I almost feel like, again, it's like we missed a few weeks worth of segments on TV. You know, the analogy I would use, it's like you're reading a story and you were on chapter 3 and you turn the page and all of a sudden you're on chapter 6. It's like, what happened to chapter 4 and 5? And that's kind of how I feel about how we went from 0 to 60 as far as Hangman's attitude, you know, coming into this match on Sunday. This can't be a one-off. That much I know. You know, now that we're here, now that the pay-per-view is finally upon us here, this is not going to be a one and done. This feels to me like the beginning of a 2 or 3 match program between these two. And so I go back to the idea. I floated this idea on one of the streams a few weeks ago, and I'm not making any kind of prediction here. I'm going to save my predictions for Sunday. So I'm not predicting that this is going to happen, but it has me wondering if they would give us either a Hangman win, you know, I would say some sort of a non-finish, but it would be very unlike Tony Khan to do that, especially if this match goes on last on Sunday. And you can make the argument that MJF and Wardlow deserve that spot, but Punk and Hangman, I mean, for the title, it's a big enough match. This has to be the main event. So I don't really see them going with a non-finish, but going with a finish that does not end with CM Punk as AEW World Champion, and instead saving the rematch for Chicago, saving it for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, and doing Hangman against Punk, instead of doing Punk against Okada or any New Japan talents. You have an AEW World title match in the main event in Chicago, and you save Punk's win for Chicago. I think we have to consider that that's a very plausible option on the table here. But again, I won't make any final predictions until I go through the whole card on Sunday. Episode 758, we'll do double or nothing predictions. But this definitely feels to me like it needs to be part of a longer story. And frankly, even if Punk wins, Punk may win the title on Sunday in Vegas, it still should be part of a longer story between these two. This can't be the only meeting between them. This feels like the beginning of a longer story, not the end. William Regal joined JR and the Man in the Mask on commentary for the next match, which was Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston against Private Party. Chris Jericho also joined the announcers with the rest of his goon squad standing behind him. So we had Jake Hager was out there. We had Daniel Garcia, the 2.0 guys. They were out there. Kingston did not even wait for Private Party to finish their entrance. He double-legged Isaiah Cassidy on the ramp and took him down. Moxley started the match with Mark Quinn in the ring. Cassidy hit a diving stunner before Mark Quinn landed a shooting star press for 2. Private Party went for the silly string. Moxley, though, stuffed it, landed a lariat, and ended up picking up the win for his team with the paradigm shift to Isaiah Cassidy. A pretty basic match otherwise. I mean, not much to it. This was a way to kind of give them a warm-up match before the big 10-man tag on Sunday. Private Party has no match. Moxley and Kingston are the ones who were involved in a major match on Sunday, not Private Party. When the match was over, Jericho and his group, they left the booth to go beat down Moxley and Kingston, who were outnumbered. Here comes Santana, Ortiz, and Bryan Danielson. And Danielson ends up brawling into the ring with Jericho. So they were going at it in the ring. All the referees and the officials, they come out to break them all up. And Jericho was going after Danielson's leg that he injured last week in that angle they shot after Rampage, where he got his leg caught between the ring and the ramp, which was a work. He is not hurt. So, I'm not excited about this feud. I just can't. I'm not digging this. It has more to do with Jericho than the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm a big fan of the Regal group. I like that pairing. I like a lot of the matches and the squashes they've given those guys over the last several weeks. The Jericho stuff, I'm just not into it. And so this really isn't doing it for me. We had FTR against Roppongi Vice, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta for the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. Ring of Honor titles only, not the AAA Tag Team titles that FTR hold. Bobby Cruz handled the match announcements. Caprice Coleman joined in with the AEW commentary team, which I thought was cool. I believe that's the first time we've had Caprice Coleman on commentary on an AEW show. They did have the main play-by-play voice a few weeks ago, I think it was, right? They had him on, but not Caprice Coleman. So they had him in the booth. Trent, after a commercial, Dax got the hot tag. Trent hit German suplexes until Dax switched it around. He hit some of his own. Rocky broke up a bridging pin with a double stomp. Roppongi hit the rising double knees on Dax. We had Beretta and Harwood. They were exchanging cradles until Trent hit the strong zero. Cash Wheeler, though, shoved Rocky Romero at the last possible moment into them to break up the pin attempt. All of a sudden, who shows up? We knew it was coming. I didn't think it was going to come before Double or Nothing. I figured this would start up next week once we begin the build to the Forbidden Door. We already got a little Forbidden Door tease on this show tonight. Jeff Cobb and Great-O-Khan from New Japan Pro Wrestling representing the United Empire. They make their way out. They attack both teams for the ref stoppage. So this doesn't go down as a DQ. It goes down as a no contest officially. And we don't get many finishes like that in AEW. No contest or DQ. So it feels strange when we do. In WWE, you feel nothing. I'm numb. I have no feeling. I feel nothing. I am so used to it. When I see a finish like this in AEW, it feels wrong. It just feels weird. Like, is Toni okay? Did Tony Khan get enough sleep this week? He actually gave us a non-finish. Something is up. So they attack both teams. Cobb hit the Tour of the Islands. Then he powerbombed Harwood through the timekeeper's table outside. And then, unfortunately, we had a very embarrassing moment. We had a very embarrassing moment with Great-O-Khan, who had Trent Beretta. Now, you have to picture this. There's a table set up outside the ring, right at the head of the entranceway. Great-O-Khan has Trent Beretta with a face claw on the apron. And he is either going to shove him off or he's going to pick him up and then slam him down through the table on the outside. Well, I don't know what happened here, but Trent decided to bump himself because Trent Beretta jumped up into the air and slammed himself down through the table. This was ridiculous. This was embarrassing. This looked so stupid. Obviously, they mistimed it. There was some kind of a miscue, but you watch it back, and I mean, he jumped. He decided, you know what? You ever see the old video? It's like, you remember the Tickle Me Elmo doll? And it's like this Elmo doll sitting on a desk, and all of a sudden, it's like it's committing suicide. It's decided it doesn't want to be part of this world anymore, and then the doll just falls backwards. It's like Trent was on the apron and just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna end it all. I'm gonna jump up and bump myself through this fucking table. So aside from that, it was cool seeing Jeff Cobb back. I think he had one appearance before, I think, in AEW, and then decided against signing an actual contract. So it was cool to see him. Great-O-Khan, never a big Great-O-Khan guy. But they stood tall, celebrating at the end of the segment. They were holding up the Ring of Honor tag team titles when it was over. And so we have our first tease for the Forbidden Door. You know, Cobb and Great O'Khan had the IWGP Tag Team titles last month. They lost them to Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens at the beginning of this month, so they don't have them anymore. But still, we're getting some kind of a match involving at least some of these teams, clearly, next month. And we are going to begin now that we are about to put Double or Nothing in the rearview mirror. You know, next week, first big show in California, the build to Forbidden Door. We're going to start to see appearances of New Japan talent on AEW television. A lot of them are in the States right now. They're going to be here, at least through that pay-per-view next month. Might we see an Okada appearance on Dynamite at some point? Would they save him for the pay-per-view and not put him on TV? Because you know he's going to be doing something on that show. The only question is it a singles match against Punk? Is it a tag team match with him and Tanahashi? Maybe against Moxley and Danielson? There's a lot of different ways they can go with it. Might we see a Tanahashi appearance or an Okada appearance in the next few weeks on TBS? We're going to see some people. Guarantee you we're going to see some people. We just don't know exactly which big names we might see show up on TV. We know it's not going to be Kota Ibushi. We know that. And Naito, I believe, is still recovering from eye surgery that he was supposed to be having. And now I see Will Ospreay is at home nursing a kidney infection. So we got like the walking wounded here in New Japan. But yes, keep an eye out for that because we're gonna start to see some of those appearances over these next several weeks. We have the Hardy Boys in the back, Matt and Jeff. They were talking about their match with the Young Bucks on Sunday. And Matt said that they had a similar upbringing to the Bucks. But once they broke into the business, their similarities came to an end. He called them Hardy cosplayers. Matt even said that he and Jeff were better than them as babies. Jeff said that he and Matt are not in their prime. They're in their over prime, whatever the hell that means. He said the Bucks were just stepping stones on their way to the AEW Tag Team titles. And Matt said they would delete the Bucks at Double or Nothing. So this was their final hard sell on a match that also just feels very thrown together at the last minute. I mean, there's not a lot of story to point to between these two teams other than that match they had many years ago before the Hardys came back to WWE. In fact, I think they had that match with the Bucks on the same day, if I remember correctly, that they debuted at WrestleMania. It was either the same day or the night before. I want to say it was the same day. I think they went right from the Ring of Honor show to the WrestleMania show. But they wanted to give them something to do on the show. It was a natural attraction to put together. There's just not a lot of story to point to other than, okay, you guys came into the business idolizing us, you look like us, you acted like us, and now we're going to prove that we're better than you. It's a pretty simple story. We got a preview of the triple threat for the tag team titles on Sunday. Tonight it was one member from each of the participating teams. We had Jungle Boy representing Jurassic Express, we had Swerve Strickland representing the team of Swerve and Keith Lee, and we had Ricky Starks representing Team Taz. Obviously, you put these three guys in the ring together, you're going to end up with a wild match. So it was wild. If you were looking for a lot of selling, if you were looking for a story to be told, then you were looking in the wrong place. It was a bunch of wild moves and counters. There was an apron Hurricane Rana from Jungle Boy that sent Swerve to the floor. Back inside, an Olympic slam on Ricky got 2. Swerve brought Jungle Boy to the top rope. Later in the match, preparing to do something. And Ricky Starks jumped up on the ropes. So now it's like a free-for-all with all three guys on top. They're all jockeying for position. Swerve pushed Starks to the floor. He was selling that he, landed on his wrist and may have injured his wrist on the way down, but he was okay. Jungle Boy attempted a reverse Rana. He went for a poison Rana. Off the top, he didn't really get Swerve. So he went backwards for the motion, but his legs didn't really grip onto his head. So Jungle Boy fell backwards, but Swerve just kind of went with the motion. He landed on his feet on the way down. Swerve went for a vertical suplex, but he got cut off with a spear from Ricky Starks, who followed that up with a Michinoku driver for 2. Starks poked Swerve in the eye and hit the Rochambeau, but Jungle Boy, right after he hits the move, sneaks up behind Starks and tries to apply the snare trap. They struggled for a little bit until Swerve broke it up with his jumping thrust kick. And the Swerve stomp on Ricky Starks followed that for the win. So Swerve picks up the win here in this match. Afterwards, Powerhouse Hobbs attacks Swerve and Jungle Boy. Out comes the Dinosaur. He ran down to make the save. And then Keith Lee's music hit. Here comes the big guy. Jungle Boy, or Luchasaurus rather, hits the tail whip. That takes out Powerhouse Hobbs. So you've got Hobbs and Luchasaurus now, who are out on the floor. Keith Lee is in the ring. And Keith Lee grabs the ropes and he propels himself out over the top rope. Keith fucking Lee hit a tornado dive out onto Powerhouse Hobbs and Luchasaurus and wiped him out on the floor. That I was not expecting. It is not every day that you see a man as large as Keith Lee hitting a tornado, but we saw that here. And in the end, it was Swerve and Keith Lee who stood tall. So again, not much here to this match in terms of selling or working a body part or anything like that. If you were expecting that kind of wrestling, then you were disappointed. But I think you kind of knew what you were going to get from these three. Just an insane amount of athleticism. And that's what we're going to get on Sunday. It's going to be a crazy, crazy match. What I'm watching for is what happens with Christian Cage. There was nothing on the show tonight to indicate that there's anything coming up on the horizon on Sunday, or any sort of animosity involving Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. But I think it's coming, and I am thinking that he will factor into this finish in some way, whether it's intentional or accidental. I think there's a very good chance we end up with new tag team champions on Sunday, and Christian may factor into that, because I still say that we are on our way to a heel turn from Christian Cage, and heel Christian is the best kind of Christian. Christian, I thought, was always at his best and most entertaining when he was a heel. And so I'm hopeful that we'll get that again soon, and he'll be split apart from Jurassic Express, and they can do something with him and Jungle Boy. I think him working matches, working a program with Jungle Boy would be hugely beneficial to Jungle Boy. We talk about how Sting has rubbed off on Darby Allin, and it was such a perfect pairing to put the two of them together. I think in the ring, Christian working with Jungle Boy and in the end putting him over would be a huge feather in Jungle Boy's cap, because Christian is still a big name. He's not on the level of a Sting, but he is still a big name, and I think he's been forgotten about because he hasn't been focused on. We barely even see him. You almost forget he's even there. It's kind of like Big Show and Mark Henry, although they're not in the ring anymore, but you almost forget that they signed with the company, that they're even there. And that's okay, because we don't need the spotlight to be on Big Show and Mark Henry. But I do think Christian has something left to contribute in the ring. And I think him and Jungle Boy, put them together in a program when the split happens, and I think you're going to get some good stuff there. So backstage, we got a promo. Speaking of good stuff, we go from the good to the bad. We have Dan Lambert with the Men of the Year. He said that Scorpio Sky would have a custom TNT Championship belt being made for him, and it'll be crafted in his image. It'll be presented to him Friday on Rampage. I have to say, the Jericho stuff, I told you before, I'm not digging the Jericho stuff. The Jericho stuff is second only to this stuff involving the TNT title for things on these shows that I could not possibly care any less about. It is my least favorite stuff on these shows. Everything that's been happening involving Sammy and Ty and Lambert and the Men of the Year, everything revolving around the TNT title, it has dragged the TNT title down into the abyss. I hate it. The Jericho stuff, I don't hate. I just don't like it. But it's still only number 2 to this stuff. And nothing officially announced, by the way, for Sunday. There is no mixed tag. I don't believe that they announced a mixed tag or a match for Sammy, unless they did late in the show and I missed it. But I don't believe they're on the show on Sunday. Somebody in the chat will tell me if they announced something late. I didn't hear it, but it's possible they'll throw it on there. So Tony Schiavone, boy, he was earning his paycheck tonight. Tony Schiavone was interviewing Thunder Rosa on stage about her title defense against Serena Deeb this Sunday. Serena got her promo time last week, and it wasn't all good. It was very rocky, but it was also the longest promo I think that she's had in AEW since she came to the company. Thunder Rosa had her chance tonight. She came out. She was a lot better than Serena was last week. Rosa was not wearing her usual makeup. She said that's because she wanted everybody to see the real Thunder Rosa. She's worked for everything that she has. She's never complained about anything. She told Serena that she would teach her a lesson in respect on Sunday. She would teach her a lesson in respect for Toni, Schiavone, I assume, not Khan. Since Serena disrespected Schiavone last week, she would do it for Toni. She would do it for Dustin Rhodes, who is her mentor and works with a lot of the women behind the scenes. And she would do it for herself. And she wasn't done speaking, but they obviously in the back thought that she was. I don't even know that this was a case of, oh, we're running low on time, let's wrap her up. As much as it may have just been that somebody thought she was done and they started playing her music, but she wasn't done. And she kept talking. I didn't pick up on what she said, but she said some more words. She finished her promo. She was going to get her shit in before she was done here. But it did very much feel like this was her Oscars moment when they play the person off the stage. But I do wonder if it was more just the case of they thought she was done and she wasn't. I don't know, but it sucked, that they played the music over her. I liked her fire here. It's kind of like Hangman earlier in the show, where he was more serious and she was definitely serious here. She was, on point, I think, with everything that she was saying. This is the real me. And this, means everything to me. And on Sunday, I'm going to, keep my title. Very basic stuff. But she had good fire here during this promo. But they have done nothing on television to get me invested in this feud. This was the match I was hoping they were going to do at Double or Nothing. You guys heard me talk about it for a few weeks before they actually announced it. And I'm looking forward to the match itself on Sunday. But this feud, in terms of the different promos and the different TV segments, has been a huge letdown. I don't blame the women. I don't blame Thunder Rosa for this. But everything that we have seen here in the build-up to this match has been disappointing. But look, if they go out there on Sunday and they have a great match, then all is forgiven. And you have two of the very best when it comes to the women's division in this company. Serena Deeb, she's been doing this a very long time. Thunder Rosa, she's been around for a while as well. We've seen her have some great matches. So you put the two of them together, I'm expecting them to have a very good match on Sunday. The TV building up to it, though, has not supported them, which is a shame because, again, this was one of the matches I was hoping to be super excited about going into Double or Nothing. I wouldn't say I'm overly enthusiastic by how they've built this up, but in the end, if they go out there and have a great match, then in the end, it won't matter. But I can't say they've given these women a lot to really work with here. We had a semifinal match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament with Dr. Britt Baker against Toni Storm. Toni Storm got a bloody nose in this match, but she didn't get much else. She is not going to Double or Nothing on Sunday. Britt Baker is going on to meet the winner of the Ruby Soho Chris Statlander match on Rampage this Friday. This was disappointing. I was expecting more from these two. I'm a big fan of Toni Storm, and I was hoping that her going in there, her highest profile match to date, look, it's a semifinal match. We are in the middle of the Owen Hart tournament. It's one of the reasons why I missed the original King of the Ring as a pay-per-view concept, because you had the entire tournament outside of the qualifiers. You had the entire tournament in one night. So it felt like, okay, you would have to really go through the ringer if you were going to win this tournament. You'd have to win up to 3 matches in one night. The semifinal matches, would get some more time. They gave them a little bit of time here, but none of these matches have felt important, especially on the women's side. All of a sudden, the finals are here. And, some of the matches have been good. I'm not saying they've all been bad matches, but when we think back to these tournaments on the men's side and the women's side, are we really going to remember any of these matches a few weeks from now, a month from now? I'm hoping at least the finals on Sunday deliver in a big way, but I can't say that these tournaments have, set the world on fire here. But I was expecting more from these two, and whatever it was, I just thought it was very rough in spots. Both women ended up on the floor early. Storm threw Baker into the ring post. Britt recovered, tried to throw Toni into the ring. Toni just rolled back out after breaking the count. And Britt slammed her face into the ring steps. Britt climbed to the second rope, tried for the Pittsburgh Sunrise, but Toni fought free and landed a swinging DDT. Baker fired back with an air raid crash for 2. Out comes Jamie Hayter to the ring. The woman that Toni Storm defeated in the opening round of this tournament. Making her way down to the ring. Stood ringside. Baker landed a twisting neck breaker for a near fall. Storm tried for the Storm Zero. Baker reversed into a pin attempt, and it looked like a botched finish, where Jamie Hayter was supposed to provide the assist to Britt Baker in terms of holding the rope for leverage before she got the 3 count. And again, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just, it just came off very, I don't know, lumpy, if that's a good word for it, but maybe Hayter wasn't supposed to get involved. It looked to me like she was, and she missed her cue. Whatever happened here, it looked like a botched finish. This was a terrible finish. And I know it's cliche stuff. Oh, the heel cheats by holding the ropes for extra leverage to win the match. The way that this was executed, it looked terrible. This was a lame, terrible finish to this match. So Jamie Hayter did not reach up and help her. It was just a matter of Britt Baker holding the rope. Somehow the referee didn't see this. And she got the win, and she is now moving on to the finals of this tournament. So I wasn't shocked by the outcome. I was a little surprised, but I was not shocked. Britt Baker was always going to have some kind of a role on this pay-per-view. I mean, if she loses tonight, she's off Double or Nothing. So I wasn't expecting her to be off the pay-per-view. So for that reason alone, I probably was leaning more towards her winning. But I was holding out hope that, Toni Storm would get the nod. I'm disappointed she didn't move on. At least she made it to the semifinals. That's better than any other tournaments I've seen her in the recent past. At least she made it to the semifinals. The question now, of course, is would they have Adam Cole win the men's tournament and then have Britt Baker win the women's tournament? I don't think so. Adam Cole, I could see winning that tournament. I could see Jay Lethal getting involved and costing Samoa Joe. But Britt Baker and Adam Cole winning, I think, is not out of the question. But no, I don't see that happening. I think Britt, and here's the reason why Britt moving on, I can see why they would have done this. Because I expect Chris Statlander to win on Friday. I mean, Ruby Soho has history with Britt Baker as well. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee Chris Statlander is going to win. I wouldn't put, more than, $10 on it. But I think Chris Statlander moves on and goes to the finals to face Britt Baker. And I think Britt Baker in the end is going to put over the babyface, whether it's Ruby Soho or whether it's Chris Statlander. I think it'll be Statlander. But I think they wanted Britt Baker on that show, and they wanted her to also put over whoever the ultimate winner is going to be. And if her role is to go to the finals and get people thinking, oh my God, they're going to have Britt Baker win. She had this year-long reign as champion. They just took the title off of her recently, and now they're going to give her the Owen Hart Cup, only for her to then lose in the end and the babyface goes over. That's what I think her purpose, her role is going to be in that match on Sunday. But we'll find out who the opponent is going to be on Friday night. It's going to be Ruby against Chris Statlander. I told you who I think is going over there. Statlander is the one I would bet on. She's an AEW original. She's been given a bit of a repackage recently. She's a fan favorite. People like her. She's very good. Now that Toni Storm is out of the tournament, to me, there's no reason not to have Chris Statlander go all the way. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Now that Toni Storm is out of the picture, I'm rooting for Chris Statlander. I'd like to see her have her moment. The show came to a close with the men's Owen Hart semifinal match. Ring of Honor TV champion Samoa Joe one-on-one for the first time in his career. First time ever these two have gone one-on-one in the ring. Samoa Joe, I'm talking about, I'm thinking of the match with Cole on Sunday. It's going to be first time ever Adam Cole and Samoa Joe. But tonight it was Samoa Joe against Kyle O'Reilly, who is friends with Adam Cole. And so they had the main event slot tonight. Joe clobbered him early on with strikes. Ultimately, they wrestled to a stalemate. O'Reilly made a brief comeback, got cut off with a back elbow. O'Reilly hit a diving knee drop, went for the armbar, heading into the final picture-in-picture. We skip ahead to the finish here. Joe tried for the muscle buster. Before he could execute it, though, O'Reilly countered out of it. He grabbed his arm, and he locked him in a Fujiwara armbar. He was wrenching back on it until Joe finally made it to the ropes and got the rope break. This was a stiff match here between these two. A lot of hard shots, hard clotheslines here in this match. Submission attempts. So if you are a fan of that particular style of wrestling, then you probably enjoyed this main event more than most. They had a good match. But again, if you're really into that kind of grappling and submission-based style, this was right up your alley here. In the end, though, Joe got the rear naked choke. The sleeper hold applied. O'Reilly went nighty-night. Referee called for the bell. And so Samoa Joe is going to go to the finals against Adam Cole. Again, as I said before, I jumped the gun. First time ever, one-on-one, Samoa Joe against Adam Cole, who did walk out onto the stage, and they did eyeball each other. Again, they were running low on time. This is a recurring theme now for Dynamite. They were crunched for time, and they went off the air kind of abruptly. I mean, they got their announcements in there at the end, but they were rushing to get off the air, and that is how the show came to a close. Rampage on Friday. We have the final semi-final match in the Owen Hart tournament on the women's side. Ruby Soho against Chris Statlander. Bryan Danielson takes on Matt Sydal. And the Young Bucks will be in action. I believe that's a live show. I believe. Usually the Rampage shows are live right before a pay-per-view. So that's coming up on Friday night. Let's take a look at the poll. See what you guys thought of this Dynamite show here. 73.7% thumbs up. About 18% thumbs down. Or 8% thumbs down. 18% thumbs in the middle. You can vote right now at Solomonster, as you can in all of these polls. I'll put one up for Double or Nothing on Sunday as well. So if you want to leave some feedback for me, that is the place to go and do that. Excalibur talks like a mile a minute. Hey, Beowulf, where have you been? Excalibur's been talking like that for months. They don't give that guy a chance to breathe. He's gonna have to carry an oxygen tank around with him. I just think it's obnoxious, to be honest with you. But I've already said my piece as far as what I think about all of that stuff. But we are also talking about the pay-per-view on Sunday here. I'm going to run down the entire card for you as it currently stands. I do want to give a shout out though to Wrestle Rumble. You guys need to go to WrestleRumble.com. They got their Pick'em contest. $1,000 cold hard cash to the winner of the contest. You can enter right now. You have until 8 o'clock, the night of the pay-per-view. You know how these contests work. You answer a series of prop questions. Who do you think is going to win this match? How long is this match going to be? How many tables are going to be in that match? So again, go to WrestleRumble.com, get your entry in, and you might be $1,000 richer when the night is over. How cool would that be, huh? But we do have... Oh, look at this. Do not pass go. Dropping some Super Chat love. But yes, on Sunday, I am going to be live, so you guys know. As soon as Double or Nothing goes off the air, you can come on back to the YouTube channel, and I'm going to be live for my Double or Nothing review. Here's the card. As it currently stands, we've got Hangman Page and CM Punk for the AEW World Championship. Wardlow gets his match with MJF. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus defend their tag team titles against Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, and Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Thunder Rosa defends her title against Serena Deeb. We've got Anarchy in the Arena, Jericho Appreciation Society against John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Santana, Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston. Adam Cole against Samoa Joe in the Owen Hart final. Britt Baker against either Chris Statlander or Ruby Soho in the women's Owen Hart final. Jade Cargill defends her TBS title against Anna Jay. The Young Bucks against the Hardys. We've got Death Triangle against the House of Black. And on the buy-in, Hook and Danhausen take on Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. That's coming up on Sunday again. I will have my predictions. Somebody was it Temjin asking in the chat. I will have my predictions on the podcast on Sunday. I will have my predictions Sunday on the podcast. That'll be episode 758. Reason being, I'm going to be at the House of Glory show on Friday night. So if you guys want to check out the House of Glory show, the pre-order page is up on Fight TV. This is the ordering page. You will have fun. If you've never tuned into a House of Glory show, it is Holy Grail. On Friday, I'll be on the call doing commentary. I hope you guys will check the show out. I think you'll enjoy it. I saw that Will Ospreay is not going to be able to compete on Friday night. That was the big main event. It was going to be Will Ospreay against Low Ki. Will Ospreay has been pulling out of shows left and right. He's got a kidney infection. He will not be at the House of Glory show on Friday night. We are working on a replacement opponent. That is all I can say. But I am sure whoever it is, it will be a suitable replacement. We got a lot of cool matches on that show. So anyway, go to fight.tv if you want to order the show. But that is where I will be on Friday. So there will be no Rampage/SmackDown stream on Friday night. Just so you guys are aware. Always want to keep you guys in the loop on what's going on. Low Ki. That's right. Hey, don't be mocking Low Ki. He'll hunt you down. You don't want to get on his bad side. Okada. I'll see if I can put in a call for Okada. Well, what a hell of a replacement that would be, huh? Yeah, I don't know about that one. But if it were up to me, you give me the chance to call my first Okada match? Holy shit. Sign me up for that. All right, let's take a look at your super chats here. Again, I appreciate everybody who has sent one in so far. I will read all of them here. That is what I do. I do read all of your messages. Tuxedo T Servo dropping $20 here. Tuxedo, thank you for the 20 spot. I have loved the Wardlow MJF build to this point. Respect for that security guy Wardlow tossed into the cage. That landing looked like it sucked. I said it just, he kind of just fell into the void. Like it just ate him up. Like he fell into a black hole. Nayef Alsafar. Thank you for the pair of super chats. Quentus Brown with the $5 super chat. Very good go-home show tonight. Looks like the Mr. and Mrs. Bebe are winning the Owen Cups. No, I don't think they are. Not together. But now we get to watch everybody freak out about the fact that they will. Joseph Brooks, rest in peace to the HIC Mystic. I say 1997 to 2015. I say 2015 because it is safe to say that the last HIC... Oh, Hell in a Cell. I had no idea what you were talking about. I thought we were talking about Double or Nothing. This guy's talking about Hell in a Cell. It's Mystique, not Mystic. The Hell in a Cell Mystique died years ago. I don't know why this you're making this out like this is some kind of a new thing. Says the last Hell in a Cell match that felt true to the Mystique was probably Brock against Undertaker. Maybe. I mean, look, there have been some good Hell in a Cell matches since then. I remember really enjoying the Becky Lynch-Sasha Banks one in 2019 on that horrible, horrible show with that horrible main event. That was the one saving grace of that show. Seth Rollins and Edge had a great Hell in a Cell match in Saudi Arabia last fall. There have been some great matches. But the mystique of Hell in a Cell died years ago. It's not coming back. It is dead. It is. I mean, we talk about match stipulations. It's buried alive. It's under there somewhere. But it's 6 feet deep and it's got dirt on top of it. The mystique died years ago. King Bling Blah. Yeah, no cap. I agree. Hell in a Cell, if it wasn't already dead, it died when they painted it red. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. It is so fucking ugly, and it almost hurts my eyes to just stare at it. But it's ugly. Who thought that looked good? To have an all-red cage. Impact had an all-red cage many years ago. I think they had a special name for it. It was like this domed cage, and it looked fucking ridiculous. You could barely even see through it. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. King Bling Blah. $9.99. What are the odds that Tony Khan buys WWE when it goes up for sale? If a big company buys it like NBC Universal, can you see Tony Khan going to NBC and saying, let me run it, AEW is proof that I can? No. It's going to take a little more than that, I think, to convince them that he can take over WWE. Why are you trying to give him more work? This guy isn't overworked enough. He already owns 2 companies, one of which he's still trying to get television for, plus all of his other responsibilities. You want him to run WWE on top of that? You're going to put him in the ground. Tony Khan does not need to run WWE. Now, when I talk about competition doesn't just mean different wrestling companies. It means different visions. It means different owners. If one person owns all of the major wrestling companies, how is that competition? He's competing against himself. I may not like a lot of what WWE does, but I also don't want Tony Khan running every fucking company. He's already got 2. He does not need 3. Joseph Brooks. As horrible as Bret Hart's WCW run was, can you still at least say it wasn't a complete failure considering he did eventually become a world champion? And actually, he won all the WCW titles. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a complete failure. We got the El Dandy moment. Who are you to doubt El Dandy? That came in WCW. There were some moments in there. Bret had some moments here and there. The metal plate when Goldberg speared him, when he was wearing that shield on his chest. You know, I mean, there were some positive moments in there. The match with Benoit, or matches with Benoit. He had 2 of them. Right? It was Mayhem, I think, was one where he won the title, and then of course the Owen Hart tribute match. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was a complete failure. Temjin Zephyr. The Jungle Boy Swerve top rope poison Rana spot where Swerve landed on his feet reminded me of that amazing Ibushi Ospreay spot on which Ospreay landed on his feet with that wonderful camera angle. Yeah, Clint, he's just a jam up guy. Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you to doubt El Dandy? King Bling. Pay-per-view costs $50. Movie ticket, $25. Going to the movies. Yeah, but movies come out every week. There's only 4 AEW pay-per-views a year. Think about that. Boots. $2 super chat. Solomonster is El Mero Mero. I don't know what that means, but hopefully it's something positive. Is that what Thunder Rosa said tonight? Big Armada, 1988. Rest in peace, the security guy who took that crazy powerbomb spot at the end of the match. The Nacho Man, ooh yeah. $1.99. Show us your reaction to the Better Call Saul mid-season finale. If you want to see my reaction to the Better Call Saul mid-season finale from Monday night, I suggest you go watch the last episode of Sound Off Gamer when Kevin Nash swerved me and attacked me from behind with a chair. That was my reaction to the mid-season finale. Rodimus Prime with that $30 Bully the Clown super chat. Looking forward to the Double or Nothing on the Double or Nothing. Now I sound like Bret. Looking forward to Double or Nothing on Sunday, especially Wardlow against MJF. Good show tonight. I popped when the United Empire invaded Dynamite. Not the last invasion that we're going to see. Again, keep your eye out these next few weeks. We're going to see a lot more from the New Japan side. No cap. Thoughts on Janela setting himself on fire? You know, I saw the, I hadn't no cap in the chat says Howard Hamlin looks like an older Solomonster. I see that a little bit. I do kind of look like a younger Howard Hamlin. That's true. That's true. Poor Howard. No cap. To answer your question, I briefly saw his foot on fire. I don't know what led to it. I did not see what led to it, but I'm sure it was something very stupid. Shaquille Oatmeal. Thoughts on the Winnie the Pooh horror movie that got greenlit? There's a Winnie the Pooh horror movie that got greenlit and I didn't hear about it. This is the first I'm hearing of it. I only today first found out that there's a Buzz Lightyear movie coming out next month, which I'm going to have to watch. Even though Tim Allen is not doing the voice of Buzz Lightyear anymore. This is going to be weird, but... Shin Akuma, thank you for the $2, Shin. Groovy Goose. Always good to hear from the groovy one. We've got the Yatagarasu with the $10 super chat. Trent Beretta launched himself through the table to escape Khan's wrath. What an act of cowardice. I haven't seen an act of cowardice like that since Marty Jannetty. Frost says GCW has apparently been faking COVID test. I don't know where you're getting that. Send me the info on that. That's the first I'm hearing of that. Now that would be a scandal if they were doing that. Shinakuma, why did they have Scott Hall doing the skits with beer, knowing his issues at the time, to build to WrestleMania 18? Because a lot of people in wrestling are just fucking bad people. And it's a very carny business, and you have a lot of carny assholes who work in the business who just think that everything can be turned into an angle and everything can just, you can just work everything. And so there you go. That's your answer. You're right, it shouldn't have been happening. They did that in WCW too. They did a whole angle around him walking around, stumbling drunk, playing off his real life issues, as if I guess that would help him in some way. There's a lot of really shitty people who work in wrestling. Do Not Pass Go. Could you ever see O'Reilly breaking out as a single star in AEW, or do you think that they see him solely as a tag team guy? Right now, a tag team guy. I think there's just so many people in AEW. The idea of a Kyle O'Reilly, big baby, well, baby or heel, singles push, I don't see it. Now, you can't say never. Never's a long time. But do I see that happening in the next year or two? No, I don't. No. He was brought in as a tag team. Lamar Smith, I agree with you. The King of the Ring style pay-per-view. That is the best way to do a tournament. This does not feel anything like special. Presentation is everything, and they don't have the assets for it. Well, Martha will be there to present the winners with their trophy or their championship belt on Sunday. Maybe the kids will also, I don't know, but I know she was supposed to be there on Sunday to present the winners, so... at least she'll be there at least. So Frost says that Sean Ross Sapp reached out to Brett Lauderdale, he's the owner of GCW, who told him that on the advice of his attorney, he cannot comment. That's not good. Keep an eye on that story. Rizzo, $20 super chat. With everything going on, I just want to say we need more love in this world and less hate. I agree. That is a message to live by. Those are great words from Rizzo. Evan Watson, $4.99 super chat. We turn that off. What is your favorite match from Dean Ambrose in WWE? And your favorite from John Morley? I don't know who John Morley is. I assume you mean John Moxley. Unless John Morley is his older brother, like Ezekiel is Elias's brother. Favorite John Moxley match? Now, are we counting some of those tag matches with the Shield? Because, I mean, there's a lot that I can pick there. If we're talking singles matches, honestly, I think my favorite might be the match that he had. It might have been a last man standing match. I was at the Royal Rumble in Orlando in 2016, and they opened the show with an Intercontinental title, I want to say last man standing match. And I remember that being a really good match. I might go with that one. If we're talking singles matches, I might go with that one. Jon Moxley matches. They would be it would be one of the ones he's had in AEW, because I didn't really follow his career prior to WWE. And I can't say I've been a huge fan of any specific match he's had on the indies. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you what. He's had some good matches in New Japan. My favorite Jon Moxley match might be the match with Yano in the G1 from a few years ago. Just his reaction when he realized that he got Yano'd is something that I still have burned into my brain. That was so great. I might have to go with that. Joseph Brooks, were you much of a fan of Bret Hart against Sting in WCW? Yeah, I remember them having a at least one pretty good match. I don't remember what pay-per-view that would have been. It's not Bret's most memorable work, but I thought they worked pretty well together. And King Bling Blah, Double or Nothing movie ticket equals $25. I'm going. That's right. That's true. Double or Nothing is airing on movie theaters across the country, certain movie theaters. So you can just combine the two. You can combine the two and spend $25 to go see the pay-per-view instead of $50 to watch it at home. There you go. Yeah, Mox against Ishii. Again, he's had some great matches against some of the New Japan guys, but the one with Yano, it still makes me laugh when I think back to it. Juan Ocampo with the $4.99. Congrats on graduating to high school, Caro. I love your big brother. Heading to Minneapolis this weekend. Other than the mall, what's to do there? Locals. No idea what you're talking about. He's conversing with someone, I think, in the chat through the super chat. And so I will let them continue their conversation. But Juan, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. The Coog, you're very welcome. It's good to see you, brother. Griga, have fun at Rampage next week. Moxley and Brody Lee actually had what ended up being a better match than I was expecting. At Double or Nothing, I think it was. I think it was that first pandemic Double or Nothing show in 2020 when they had him challenge for the AEW World title against Moxley, and they actually went out there. They had a hoss fight, beat the hell out of each other, and they ended up having a pretty good match. Maybe we'll see Yano. Maybe we'll see Yano pop up on Dynamite one of these weeks. We'll get some kind of a face-off between Yano and, Danhausen or something, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. All the people will go crazy. Juan was shouting out his sister since I worked during her 8th graduation on Tuesday nights. Well, yeah, you should have specified that in the chat, because I thought you were wishing me congratulations on my graduation. Brother, it's been a while since I graduated. That's quite the delayed congratulations. I thought you were talking about me. I was about to say thank you. I appreciate it. Where's my graduation gift? Well, I guess the $4.99. I guess that was my graduation gift. It's been a while since Solomonster had the cap and gown on with the little tassel hanging on my head. Sean O'Hare, one of our channel members. What's going on? Sean O'Hare is a Sound Off legend. You are a legend, my friend. Yano against Orange Cassidy. Yeah, Orange Cassidy is still hurt. And there's no timetable on when he might be back. Yeah, there's been no update. That was that spot in the ladder match back at Revolution. He got his head dinged. I think it's a concussion issue. I don't know for sure, but he's been out ever since. Griga has been loving the retro show. I'm very happy that you have been enjoying the retro shows. The retro shows, if you are a Sound Off legend, if you are on that Legends tier, you have access to the first 13 or 14 episodes that I ever did of the podcast, going all the way back to 2007, and the first ever SE Scoops live call-in show that I co-hosted with my buddy Noah. So there's a lot more coming up. I have to go through each one and edit out music and stuff that could be problematic on YouTube, so I have to listen to all of the shows over again. It's a very time-consuming process, but we are slowly going through all of them, and that's for the Legends tier members. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I go back and listen to some of those old shows, and I hear some of the stories I was talking about at the time, and some of those early predictions, and it's comical. It's comical to go back and listen to, but it's fun. No Cap says, would you be interested in seeing Tyson Fury in the WWE? He's been tweeting Drew McIntyre, maybe a match at SummerSlam. Well, we already saw Tyson Fury against Braun Strowman. It's not like we haven't seen him before. I don't have any interest at all. I understand he's one of the greatest boxers and he's a major, major star. And it would be a huge coup for Nick Khan and Vince McMahon to be able to get Tyson Fury to come in and do a match. SummerSlam, I don't see it. If anything, it would be the Cardiff show in September. And that really will dictate whether or not Drew McIntyre challenges Roman Reigns for the championship, or if he's going to fight or wrestle with Tyson Fury. I personally, I have no interest. It does not appeal to me at all. I actually think the best part of it probably would be the verbal build up to it, because we know Tyson Fury can talk shit. That might be fun. The segments building up to it might be fun. But no, I have no interest in that. But if they can make it happen, again, he's a major star. I don't doubt that he's a major star. I just don't have any interest in it. Mario DeRose, who wins head-to-head? Ruthless Aggression era versus New Generation era. Criteria would be pay-per-view quality and star power. Ruthless Aggression. And I was a fan of the New Generation era. I was still a relatively young fan at that time growing up in the New Generation era, so I have a lot of fond memories of that. But, I mean, if you're comparing it to, like, match quality and, pay-per-view quality, a lot of those Ruthless Aggression era shows, I gotta give the nod to that. Austin says he doesn't care about combat sports. It's kind of the same thing with, like, when they brought in Floyd Mayweather. I love the angle they did in No Way Out back in 2008. That was one of the best celebrity angles the WWE has ever done, maybe the best that they have ever done. I would say after Austin and Tyson in 98. After that one, I might actually go with the Mayweather and Big Show angle from No Way Out in 08. The way they did that whole segment, Big Show had balls of steel, man. Letting this guy punch him in the face and bust his nose up like that. One of the best boxers in the world. And the build went off the rails a little bit because they thought Mayweather would be the babyface, Big Show would be the heel, and the fans, of course, dictated it the other way around. But then the match came, and I don't even remember much about the match. It was just, you got to WrestleMania, and all the really best parts of it were already done. It was the build on television. That's how a lot of these things work. The payoff is not as good as the actual build and the promotion for the fight itself. I think you could say the same thing about a lot of combat sports in terms of the fights in UFC or in boxing. It tends to be more fun to watch them shit talk each other and build up the fight, and then you get to the fight, and yeah, I mean, they could have a 12-round classic, but a lot of times it's over in the blink of an eye, and it's like, that's it. That's what all this build was for. So that's how it works a lot. And when you bring somebody from the combat sports world into WWE or into wrestling in general, if they're a fan and they get it, then it could be fun, depending on what the creative is. But it's not something I'm longing to see. I'm not longing to see all of these fighters and boxers, coming in and, taking up spots on television. And it has to be the right person to appeal to me. So that's the best I could say about it. Shin Akuma, Johnny Ace voice skits on the main show. You like Johnny Ace? You like Johnny Ace? Johnny, he's so easy. He's so easy to, his voice, it's just, it sounds like he's got emphysema and he's smoking 17 packs a day. I mean, it's not that hard to do. What's going on, Del Fuego? Sound Off Legend wants to know, how about them Mets? Starting to get into 97 WWF, and I'm loving it. What matches do you recommend? How much time do you have? I would suggest, well, you're one of our channel members. You should go, if you didn't already, and check out the watch-along we did in March. We did the watch-along for Bret Hart against Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. That'd be a good place to start. And I've got some more watch-alongs planned, because it is 25 years since 1997. So it's 25 years since the Canadian Stampede. It's 25 years since the first ever Hell in a Cell. It's 25 years since Montreal. Get ready for that, by the way. You're going to have all the Montreal screwjob talk because it's 25 years. So if you're, getting into WWF 1997 stuff, definitely keep an eye out for some of the other watch-alongs that we're going to be doing in the next few months. It makes you feel old. How do you think it makes me feel? 25. Can you believe that? 25 years. It's insane. You saw the Austin and Hart match? Yes. I'll give you a recommendation from 97. Something you can watch. I mean, there's a lot of great matches, honestly. Find the tag team match. Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin on Raw in May of 97 against Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. It was the night when they won the tag team titles. I don't remember what episode of Raw that was. I'm almost positive it was in May. I don't remember the date offhand. And it was like a 10-minute match. Find that match. As good as any television match you'll watch on any episode of Raw all year. That's one of my favorite Raw matches. You were 2. Marcus says he was 2 in 1997. Yeah, 97 was a very important year for WWF. It was a game-changing year for that company. So close to bankruptcy, and then as soon as they upped their pay-per-view prices, they jacked them up by $5 every month. You would think, oh, maybe that might chase people away from wanting to buy the pay-per-views. No. They just bought them at the higher price. All of a sudden, they had money. They had money to pay Bret Hart. But they already told Bret to go sign a contract somewhere else. And we all know what that led to. The first stunner to Vince McMahon in Madison Square Garden. That was in September of that year. Austin getting dropped on his head by Owen at SummerSlam. The Patriot. Let's not forget the Patriot. That was his big year in the WWF. He was only there for a few months. Then he got hurt, and then we never saw him again. Patriot was over. You would think it's a very cliche wrestling gimmick, the guy in the mask, who cares, rah-rah USA. But he was over. He was over. It's just the injuries did him in, though. His body betrayed him. So he had a very short run in the company that year. European title was introduced, that's right, the finals with Bulldog and Owen that year. I'm liking these messages. Keep on sending them in. But right now, we are going to switch over to, I know your favorite segment and mine. We got a big pay-per-view coming up on Sunday, but Tony Khan's put together quite the impressive card on paper. He's booked a very big main event. Let's see if I can do the same here in Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
Yes, indeed, it is Be the Booker. Be the Booker. Where I am going to book a men's and women's main event match. And hopefully we will have some success here. And book a match that you guys actually want to see. Be the Booker. We're going to start out here with the ladies for a change. Usually we start out with the men. This time we're going to start out with the ladies. We begin with actually one of the most important figures in WWF history. Cyndi Lauper. For those who don't know who that is, all you guys that were 2 years old in 1997 are looking at her going, who the hell is that? Believe it or not, that woman, her and Mr. T, had a lot to do with the WWF going on to have the kind of success that it did. She even got involved physically in some angles back in the rock and wrestling era. She should be in the Hall of Fame. Cyndi Lauper stepping into the ring to take on Chyna. Ugh. Cyndi Lauper and Chyna sounds like a fucking terrible match. Almost, so bad it's good kind of thing. I would be kind of morbidly curious to see how that match would turn out. That's like the blind leading the blind. I mean, Chyna, she had the basics down, but Chyna against Cyndi Lauper, that, I don't know about that. I'm not too sure about that one. I'm not sold on that one. So let's switch on over to the men. See how we do here. Well, we're off to a great start. The best there is. The best there was. The best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. Always going to be a good night on Be the Booker when you land on Bret Hart. It almost doesn't even matter who I land on for an opponent. Bret can make him look good. You could put Bret Hart in the ring with a fucking one of those number 2 pencils, and he would have a good match. So let's see here. Let's let it spin a little bit more. Spin, spin, spin. It will be Bret Hart going one-on-one with Seth Rollins. That's the face you make when you get the news that you're going to be working a match against Bret Hart. Look at this guy. Bret's like his idol. His heart was broken when Bret made those comments about how unsafe Seth was when he was injuring people. Everybody was getting hurt. Everybody was getting hurt when they were in the ring with Seth. Even if it wasn't his fault, they were getting hurt. He had to be devastated when Bret called him unsafe and made those comments about him. But Bret Hart, prime Bret Hart against Seth Rollins would be a fucking fantastic match. What a match that would be. That's one of the best main events I've booked in these segments yet. That would be fantastic. You guys will be very excited and happy to know, by the way, that I am almost done with the tag team Be the Booker. I have collected most of the images. I have about 150 teams. I'm trying to think of some additional ones to throw in there that I may have missed. So that's the first half of the very time-consuming process. Now I have to kind of storyboard the whole thing and randomly put all the images together. So I have a process for doing that. That'll take me about 5 hours. But once that's done, we will have a tag team Be the Booker. And so I don't know if we're going to do all 3 every single week. We might alternate. But for the people who have been asking me, yes, the tag team Be the Booker is on the way. In fact, I might have it in time for our Dynamite stream next Wednesday. So that is something fun to look forward to. Is The Fiend in Be the Booker, says Bliss Fan? Yes, The Fiend, I believe The Fiend is in there. I believe The Fiend is in there. Yes, Kane and X-Pac is in the tag team one. Power and Glory is in there. Private Party. A lot of ones that you wouldn't expect are also in there. EJ Slam dropped $4.99. I'm 25, and I feel like I'm the only person my age who goes back and watches the territories from the 70s and the 80s. Are there any others? Well, I'll leave that to the chat. Let EJ Slemp know if he's the only one of mid-20s age who goes back and watches the 70s and 80s wrestling. He does that because he has good taste. That's why EJ does that. He's a smart guy. Booker T and Goldust are in there, yes. Actually, Edge and Ray are not. I did not put Edge and Ray in there. I did not put London and Kendrick in there either. I should probably put them in there. See, EJ has a few people in the chat here who do the same thing. Ty was born in 95. He goes back and watches the old stuff. You know, say what you want about WWE and the current product. I mean, again, I've always said positive things about the network. You know, if you want easy access to a lot of the classic stuff, most of it's up there. You know, and they're adding new episodes of Superstars from the mid-90s, and they have Challenge and Prime Time and Old Raws and all that stuff. It's all up there. And even some of the newer content. I have yet to miss a single episode of the Broken Skull Sessions. The next Broken Skull Sessions is coming out beginning of June. I think it's the first Friday in June. Jeff Jarrett sat down with Steve Austin. Jeff Jarrett is going to be on the Broken Skull Sessions. So they have to address the elephant in the room, which is the heat between them and the fact that Austin did not want to work with him in the late 90s. So I'm sure that came up during the interview. That will be a interesting conversation between Steve Austin and Jeff Jarrett. As the story goes, as Austin has told the story before, when Austin worked for Jeff's father, Jerry Jarrett, who I think was notoriously stingy when it came to paying wrestlers, Austin was backstage one day. And I'm sure he'll tell this story on the thing. If I'm wrong, he'll provide the specific details. But as the story has always been told, he was looking at his check for that night or that week, and he was staring at how low it was. I don't remember what the dollar amount was, but it was low. And so Jeff comes walking by, right, the son of the promoter, and he smacks Austin on the back and goes, "It ain't going to get any bigger staring at it, boy." And he kept walking. And from that moment on, Austin apparently he had, you know, a certain level of heat with Jeff Jarrett. And so when Jeff came to the company, he was not on Austin's list of people that he wanted to work with. And also there was more to it than that, because when Jeff came back to the company in 97, you remember that work shoot promo he cut on Raw. And he talked about how blasphemous he thought Austin 316 was. And Austin was not happy about that at all. You know, because here's this guy coming into the company shooting on his merch. And I guess nobody told him about it. Nobody warned him about it. And so that also upset him. So we'll see how much of that stuff actually comes up in the conversation. But big fan of the Broken Skull stuff that Austin does on the network. Everybody's just naming tag teams. Half the tag teams you guys are naming are not in there. So Billy and Chuck is in there. I did put Billy and Chuck. American Alpha, yes. American Alpha is in there. I should be taking some of these suggestions, because I just saw about 10 teams that I do not have on my list. Deuce and Domino actually are in there. Did I see the ringside news stuff? Yes, I did. Could not happen to a nicer guy. Absolute trash. So maybe now people will get their news from other sources. Solomonster and WWE Bot. See, that's a team that people can get behind. The Core? No, I'm not including the Core. Fuck the Core. This Disco Inferno will have nothing to do with my... I am not booking Disco Inferno in any of these matches. He will have no part in any of these segments. But it did remind me as I was going through it, like some of the weirder teams that were short-lived, but I had forgotten about. Somebody mentioned Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree. I didn't put them in there, but I had completely forgotten they were even a team. It's like these, again, these makeshift teams that they put together. It's crazy. Kings of Wrestling, yes, they are in there. They're in there. All right, this has been fun, guys. I want to thank you for hanging out with me tonight, spending some time on what is the 3-year anniversary of AEW. Again, I was in Vegas 3 years ago tonight. I was in Las Vegas. I had a lot of fun on that trip, in fact. I met a lot of you guys there. Met a lot of Sound Off fans. And hope to get out to Vegas again, hopefully in the not-too-distant future. But I had a blast that night. And as far as a first event is concerned, AEW, I think, blew away expectations that night. And it's been a lot of fun to follow the rise of the company since then. Again, it's not perfect. They have issues, just like most companies have issues. And they're having growing pains now because the roster is getting so bloated. And Tony Khan has all these different things on his plate. I think he's finally running into this problem where, okay, can't clone yourself, so how are you supposed to juggle all of these different things and please everybody? You can't do it. That's where you get these stories of unrest and people being frustrated and feeling they're not getting enough television time, where the backstage environment is chaotic. We're gonna hear more stories like this. There's gonna be more rumors and stories like that come out. But for all of those issues, I think the wrestling world is a lot better off for having an AEW around, even if you are not an AEW fan. Just their existence, if you are a wrestler, a lot of wrestlers have made a lot more money simply because AEW exists. They may never have set foot in an AEW ring, but a lot of people have a big fat contract that they would not otherwise have were it not for AEW. So for that reason alone, it's been a big benefit to a lot of people in the wrestling business, and we'll see what the next 3 years hold. Next year is going to be a very important year because we'll find out what the television situation is going to be when their deal comes due. Do they stay with Warner? Does Warner, give them the boot? Can they get more money? Or are they going to make the same amount of money? Are they going to make less money? We don't know. It's a lot of questions that will be answered in time. But it's been a fun 3 years. And the best part about it is we get to hang out on Wednesday nights and talk about Dynamite. So I could think of worse ways for you guys to be spending your Wednesday nights, and I'm grateful that you have chosen me for your Dynamite coverage. Do come on back here on Sunday night. Again, we are going to be talking about Double or Nothing as soon as the pay-per-view goes off the air. It'll probably be late. It'll probably be after midnight, but as soon as the show ends, I will go live. And make sure you check out episode 758 of the podcast earlier that day. And, of course, back here next Wednesday for another Dynamite stream and hopefully a brand new edition of Be the Booker, Tag Team Edition. And I look forward to seeing all you guys there. So until then, be well. Stay, boy, look at this. You guys are going nuts in the chat with all these tag teams. Look what I've started here. Shaq and Kobe. I don't have Shaq and Kobe in there. I don't have Shaq and Kobe. I do have Mulder and Scully. I will tell you, I did put them in there. Even though I have never watched a single episode, believe it or not, I have never watched a single episode in my life of the X-Files. And I have it on my watch list of things to start watching soon. Because I kind of feel like I'm the kind of person who would be into a show like that. And I don't know why I never got into it, but I know they're kind of an iconic duo in television, so I had to put them in there. You might find a few other ones in there too. I don't want to spoil all of them. Black and Decker is not in there. Wise ass. Sports and things, you might be onto something there. You might be onto something. Hey, I said tag team be the booker. I didn't say they had to be a wrestling tag team. I'm just saying. Give that some thought. You know what? I'm never going to be able to go through all these things in the chat, so there's been some good suggestions. So you guys got to send me an email with all these. That way I have them in one list. I could just go through them all and pick out the ones that I missed. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys not Friday night, Sunday. Sunday night for the Double or Nothing review. Until then, have yourselves a good week. And if we don't talk before then, if I don't see you guys before then, happy Memorial Day. We are heading into a holiday weekend here. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care.